Viewers, welcome to my channel. Our today's topic is friction. What is friction? Viewers, friction is the force which opposes the sliding of one surface over another. This force is called friction. Look at these two diagrams. Here is a block lying on an horizontal surface. In the first look, the surface appears to be very smooth, but actually it is not so. When we apply some force to move it, it will not move. It means that there is another force which is stopping it from move. That force which stops it from moving by applying little push is called friction. When we slide one of body over another, the force which opposes the sliding process is called friction. Now, in this case, we push with a larger force, body starts moving, but still there is a force that is in action, which is hidden force in this case here. That force is called friction. What is the proof that this force is present? If we stop applying the force, what happens? The body will come to rest. As you have studied in the first law of motion presented by Newton, which states that a body in motion will continue its motion in a straight line. But here what happens? When we stop pushing the body, it will come to rest. Here is the force that brings the body to rest. That force is friction. It is our today's video topic. Viewers, what is the cause of this force? Means what is the cause of the friction, the force which opposes the sliding of one surface over another. The cause of the friction is roughness of two surfaces which are in contact. Although a surface looks very smooth, but at microscopic level, when you observe such a smooth surface like the surface of this table or floor, you will see the pattern like this. Here is the portion where two surfaces are in contact. Due to roughness, elevations of one surface gets interlocked with the depressions of other. This is also known as cool welding. They are cool welded, and this roughness is the cause of friction. So when we push a body, this force opposes the motion of the body. If surface is rough, the friction will be high. It will be more difficult to move a body on rough surface. More effort, more force is required. However, if surface is smooth, then the friction will be less. Roughness is less. Friction will be less, and little force is required to move a body. In your daily life, you may have observed that if you are sliding something in your lawn, it is very difficult because the lawn surface is rough. And if you slide the same object, say a sack of floor, on your floor tile, then it will be easier for you to drag it on your smooth drawing room tile as compared to the grassy lawn, because in grassy lawn there is friction and in smooth tile floor there is less friction, although friction is there. So the cause of friction is roughness of the two surfaces. More the surfaces are rough, more will be the friction. Now viewers, what are the types of friction? Friction is divided into two categories. One is called static friction and the other is called kinetic friction, or sliding friction or moving friction. Static friction, as it is clear from its name, when a body is at rest and it is not moving, force is applied on body. If force is not enough, the body will not move. It means that there is another force which is cancelling the effect of applied force. That another hidden force is called force of static friction. It remains there until the body is at rest. Now, if you go on increasing the applied force, a point will come when body will start sliding. Now, in this situation, there is still the force of friction. Now, the force of friction is called sliding friction or kinetic friction. Again, the proof is that when you stop applying the force that is dragging the body, it will come to rest due to that sliding friction force acting on it. So, there are two types of friction: static friction, the force of friction that acts on a body till it is at rest, and kinetic friction, that is the force of friction that acts on a body when it is in motion. Explanation of the force of friction by graph. Viewers, if we plot a graph between applied force and force of friction, along y-axis or vertical axis, one force is represented, and along horizontal axis or x-axis, the applied force is represented. If we apply a force on a body that is at rest, body does not move. It means that our applied force is balanced by force of friction. Since body is at rest, this is called force of static friction. Mathematically, it is represented by Fs. Fs means force of static friction and capital F means applied force. Now look at the graph. If you go on increasing gradually the applied force, body is still at rest. It means that the force of friction is also increasing as we go on increasing the applied force. This process continues till the force of static friction reaches to some maximum value. That is called maximum force of static friction or limiting friction. If we further increase the applied force beyond this point, what happens now? The body starts slipping. As the body starts slipping, those cooled welded points broke and force of friction reduces to some value and then becomes nearly constant. Now still force of friction is there, but now the body is not in the state of rest. Now it is in the state of motion, and that state is called kinetic. So now the friction acting beyond this point is known as kinetic friction or sliding friction. Look at this, the graph. It is further clear from the graph that force of kinetic friction is less than the force of static friction. The relation between these two types of force of frictions and applied force is explained in these two equations. As far as body is at rest, then the force of static friction is equal to mu s. It is the coefficient of static friction, mu s multiplied with the normal force. So when normal force is multiplied by this specific value, then we get the force of static friction, maximum force of static friction. And similarly, the equation for force of kinetic friction that shows the relation between force of kinetic friction and normal force is Fk equals to mu k n, where mu k is called the coefficient of kinetic friction. Again, the force of kinetic friction is less than the force of static friction. Now viewers, coming to the advantages of friction. Is friction good or bad? Now discussing this one by one. First, we think that friction is good, means there are advantages of friction. In your daily life, there are so many advantages. For example, driving a vehicle on a surface means all types of motion that we observe around us are possible due to friction. When a vehicle tires push the ground in downward and backward direction, the ground pushes it back in the forward direction. If there is no friction, the grip of the tire on the road will weak and tire will slip. Motion is not possible and motion will become difficult. So Driving a vehicle is due to friction. Applying brakes to stop a moving vehicle. Now, once a car is moving, it has inertia and it is difficult to stop that car. So, to stop the car, we provide brakes. Brakes provide friction between tires and road. So, the car comes to rest. Next, skating. You can easily slide on the surfaces due to friction. You push you push with the sticks in backward direction. Due to friction, the stick holds on the snow and it will push you forward. Similarly, walking, another example of friction. If there is no friction between your shoes and ground, you will slip and walking becomes difficult. Similarly, when we write on notebook, it is the friction that holds the pen firmly on the page and we can write in a good way. Or when we write on blackboard, the friction is also used there. Otherwise, the pen may slip from the page of the paper or from blackboard. Drilling a nail into wall. Nail stays in the wood or nail stays in the wall firmly due to friction. If there is no friction, you can push the nail back or you can pull the nail out from the wood or from the wall. Nail, wood or bolt stays in the wall due to friction. Similarly, sliding on a garden slide. This is also due to friction. Filing nails. When you round your nails using a file, then friction is used for this purpose. So these are the advantages of friction. We say that friction is good. But on the other hand, there are some disadvantages of the friction. What are these disadvantages? Number one, friction generates heat. Most frankly speaking, unwanted heat. Rub your hands, they will become hot due to friction. So it is the disadvantage that friction produces unwanted heat. Second, friction makes work tedious, makes our work difficult. To overcome friction, we have to apply extra force and we are exhausted. Thirdly, it opposes the motion. It hinders the motion of a moving object. So it is also a disadvantage of friction, and as I told you earlier that it produces unnecessary heat. It generates unnecessary heat. Wear and tears. If there is no friction, your tires will work forever with your car. Your shoes will not tear off forever. So wear and tear of the moving parts of the machinery is due to friction. Forest fires. In some thick forest, fires start due to friction. When two specific types of trees rub with each other due to friction, there produces heat and they catch fire. Friction slows down motion again. That disadvantage is repeated. Reduces efficiency in machine. Here, as I already told you, that it makes the work tedious. Friction reduces efficiency of machine. Most of the energy is used to overcome the friction and it is wasted in the form of heat, so it decreases the efficiency of machines. And as a result, it increases the costs of production. Overheating again and unwanted noise. These are the disadvantages of friction. Now, students, where we want to decrease the friction, what will be the different methods for reducing friction? We want to minimize the friction. However, we cannot avoid it completely, but to some extent, it can be reduced by using the following steps. Number one, make surfaces smoother through polishing. Make the surfaces smooth, which are sliding over one another. So as the smooth will be the surfaces, less will be the friction and easy will be the movement or sliding. Apply lubricants like oil or grease. After smoothing the surfaces, there should be a thin layer of grease or any other suitable liquid. Since the friction between a soft and hard surface is less as compared to the friction between two hard surfaces. So, to provide a smooth surface, lubricants like oil or grease are used. Now, if we replace the sliding with rolling, in case of rolling, the point of contact between two surfaces reduces. That significantly decreases the friction between two surfaces. So, using rolling motion means like wheels or ball bearings, we can reduce the friction. Here, students, keep in your mind that another type of lubricant can also be used, that is solid lubricant. You can say it as we use a powder on your board of carom on your sheet of carom board. There, those small particles act like ball bearings and they reduces the friction between the surface of the board and the disc. Reduce the contact area of the force means replace sliding with rolling. Rolling is easier because friction is less effort is required. Students, this is all about friction. At the end, there is an assignment for you. In cycle race, the vehicles covering the event is not allowed to move in front of cyclist. Think on it and answer it to yourself. Thank you for